When I was growing up, my father used tape measures 5 to 6 days a week on construction sites, and they just didn't seem to last. Since then, there's been a lot of improvements made to tape measures. We have a whole bunch of different brands to test today, so let's get the testing underway and see which brand is the best. In the first test, we'll see which brand has the best standout. Then we'll see which brand offers the best wear protection. Then we'll find out which brand has the strongest magnet. And finally, we'll see which brands can survive an impact. At a price of only $7, the least expensive brand we'll be testing is made by Bauer. All the tape measures are 25 feet. Durable and economic case design. We're going to test that. Push-button blade return. Protective nylon blade coating. Lifetime warranty. The Bauer is made in China. The hook is secured in 3 spots. We're probably going to do a lot of damage to these tape measures, so I went ahead and bought 3 tape measures each. If you work alone a lot, the distance you can extend the end of the tape measure can really make a huge difference. Let's see which tape measure has the best standout in the next test. To help sell more tape measures, some of the manufacturers no longer mention standout. Instead, they mention reach, which is standout plus 3 feet, the distance of a person's arms. With a tape measure placed on a flat table, there's up to 7-degree difference among the brands. So I put together this simple test jig to set an angle at 16.5 degrees. A bearing is located 10 inches from the front of the tester to apply pressure on the tape consistently from one brand to the next. Let's test the Bauer first. With a blade thickness of 0.15 millimeters, the Bauer blade is a lot thinner than some of the other brands, and that's definitely going to have an impact on how far it'll extend. 84 inches are right at 7 feet for the Bauer. At a price of only $10, the second least expensive brand we'll be testing is made by Ming Hao. The brand claims to be strong and durable. The casing of the measuring tape is made out of top-grade rubberized material. Easy to read fractions. The Ming Hao includes both a blade lock as well as a brake. The end of the tape measure is outfitted with a powerful magnet. The Ming Hao brand does not claim to have any sort of protective coating. The Ming Hao is made in China. And the Bauer has a standout of 84 inches, and the blade thickness and width is nearly the same as the Ming Hao's. 89 inches. So the Ming Hao takes the lead from the Bauer. At a price of only $15, the third least expensive brand we'll be testing is made by Kobalt. 90-day satisfaction guarantee. High-vis double-sided blade with durable nylon coating. Printed fractional graduations. Magnetic hook. The hook is secured in 4 areas. Product of Korea, assembled in China. And the Kobalt blade is slightly thicker and wider than the Bauer and the Ming Hao. 92 inches for the Kobalt. Also costing $15, the same price as the Kobalt, is this Komelon brand. Magnetic hook. Nylon coated blade. Printed on both sides of the blade. Unlike the previous 3 brands, this one has a double hook. The Komelon is made in China. The Komelon has the same blade thickness and width as the Ming Hao brand. 82.5 inches for the Komelon. At a price of only $16 is this Kutir brand. 5 times stronger. Accidental drop protection with shock absorbent case. It claims to have 7 feet standout. Easy to read bold numbers. Double-sided ruler. Magnetic hook. There's a hook above and below the tape measure. The hook is secured in 3 spots. The Kutir brand is made in China. The Kutir brand claims to have 84 inches of standout, and it actually did better than advertised at 90.5 inches, but the Kobalt holds on to the lead. At a price of $23 is this Klein Tools brand. Double hook magnetic tape measure. It claims to have a tough blade. 13-foot standout. Easy to read bold lines. Heavy-duty nylon coating for longer blade life. Retraction brake for speed control and finger protection. The blade is secured in 4 spots. The Klein Tools brand is made in China. And the Klein brand claims to deliver 156 inches of standout, and the Klein brand did better than advertised at 167.5 inches and moves into the lead. Also at a price of $23, the same price as the Klein brand, is this Stanley Fat Max. Magnetic hook end, 10 times the blade life. The first 4 3/4 inches is protected by the blade armor coating. The Stanley Fat Max blade is secured in 3 locations. 14 feet of reach. The Stanley is made in USA with global materials. And the Stanley Fat Max claims 168 inches of reach or 132 inches of standout. And the Stanley came up a little bit short at 127.5 inches of standout. At a price of $2 more than the Stanley Fat Max or $25 is this Craftsman brand. 16 feet of reach, extra durable blade coating, magnetic hook. The first 3 inches of the blade has a coating. The hook is secured in 3 locations. Made in the USA with global materials. The Craftsman claims a very impressive 192 inches of reach or 156 inches of standout. 154 inches. So the Craftsman came up 2 inches short of meeting its rating. At the same price as the Craftsman at $25 is this Lufkin brand. All the other brands are 25-foot tape measures. The Lufkin is 26. 12-foot standout. Fingertip control. Durable coating 3 times the life. Lifetime warranty. Versatile 360-degree end hook. The hook is secured in 4 locations. The Lufkin is designed, engineered, and tested in the USA, but it's made in China. Standard as well as metric. The Lufkin claims 144 inches of standout or 180 inches of reach. And the Lufkin came up 12 inches short at 132 inches. At a price of $28, the second most expensive brand we'll be testing is made by Milwaukee. Magnetic hook. Wire form belt clip. Finger stop. Nylon blade protection. The end hook is secured in 4 locations. Up to 9 feet of standout. 5-point reinforced frame. The Milwaukee is made in China. And the Milwaukee only claims a standout of 108 inches and performed better than advertised at 121 inches of standout. And the most expensive brand we'll be testing at $33 is this DeWalt brand. 13 feet of standout, extended performance, lifetime warranty. Our toughest blade coating, guaranteed tough. The first 9 inches of the tape measure has the coating. Survives a 60-foot drop. New quick-release lock design. The DeWalt does not have a magnetic end hook. The DeWalt end hook is secured in 3 locations. Made in USA with global materials. DeWalt claims 13 feet or 156 inches of standout, and the DeWalt was only 1.5 inches short of reaching 156 inches. So the Klein Tools brand came out on top at 167.5 inches, DeWalt second at 154.5, Craftsman 154, Lufkin 132, and Stanley fifth at 127.5. Many tape measures claim to have a protective coating on the blade to protect it. Up next, let's see which brand offers the best protection using this test jig. The test jig is set up with 800 grit wet sandpaper and it's wrapped around a 1-inch diameter PVC pipe. To keep the sandpaper from becoming clogged, I'll spray water on the tape and the sandpaper. I'll also apply 10 pounds on the edge of the test rig arm to apply a consistent downward pressure. Each brand will make a total of 60 passes across the sandpaper, beginning with the Bauer brand. After 10 passes, the Bauer is still in great shape. Let's give the Bauer 50 more passes. The Bauer actually did fairly well. A couple of areas where it did wear through, but other than that, the numbers are very readable. Testing the Ming Hao. I'll be replacing the sandpaper between each test. After only 10 passes with the Ming Hao, the numbers are completely worn off. So let's continue for another 50 passes to see how it holds up. Wow, that's a lot of damage compared to the Bauer brand. The Ming Hao just didn't hold up very well at all. Testing the Kobalt. And the sandpaper just doesn't seem to be causing any damage. Wow, there's a huge difference between the Ming Hao and the Kobalt. The numbers on the Kobalt are slightly faded, but they're still very easy to read. During the test, I could tell that the friction or drag of the tape passing across the sandpaper was a lot more than it was with the Bauer. Komelon definitely did better than the Ming Hao, but definitely not as good as the Bauer. Testing the Kutir brand. There's a lot of resistance to the tape moving across the sandpaper with the Kutir brand. Unfortunately, there's a lot of damage with the Kutir brand, but definitely not as bad as the Ming Hao. Testing the Klein Tools brand. The Klein is sliding across the sandpaper effortlessly. There doesn't appear to be any fading with the Klein Tools brand. Testing the Stanley Fat Max. The Stanley Fat Max held up very well and looks as good as new. Testing the Craftsman. The Craftsman brand seems to be moving across the sandpaper just as freely as the Stanley Fat Max and the Klein Tools brand. Even before the test, the numbers on the Craftsman look slightly faded, but in fact they are not. This part of the tape measure was not sanded, and this part of the tape measure was, and as you can tell, there really isn't any visible difference. Testing Lufkin brand. Unfortunately, there's quite a bit of damage to the Lufkin brand. It wore right through the paint in several areas. So the coating used on Lufkin just isn't as good as some of the other brands. Testing Milwaukee. Unfortunately, the Milwaukee brand just did not hold up very well. There's quite a bit of fading and some of the numbers are very difficult to read. Testing DeWalt. There's no fading with the numbers and the DeWalt looks as good as new. Wear resistance is very subjective, so I put together a rating scale of 1 through 5. A rating of 1 indicates very poor abrasion resistance, while a rating of 5 indicates outstanding abrasion resistance. The difference among the brands was rather surprising, with the Klein Tools, Stanley, Craftsman, and DeWalt receiving a perfect 5 rating, but the Kobalt performed nearly as well with a 4. Unfortunately, some of the more expensive brands just did not perform very well. One thing for sure, industrial environments can be really hazardous for tape measures. Let's see how these tape measures hold up after 5 minutes inside the ammo can, shaking around with some sawdust, some sand, and some drywall screws. Before we beat up the tape measures, let's go ahead and get our 12-foot recoil time for each brand, and then we'll see how they perform after 5 minutes inside the ammo can. To prevent damage to the tape measure, I'll tape a couple of earplugs to the tape just to serve as a cushion and help prevent damage. Testing the Bauer. I tested the Bauer twice and it took right at 0.85 seconds each time. Let's see how it performs after 5 minutes inside the ammo can. Okay, it's been right at 5 minutes. So let's see how the Bauer is doing. Wow, the Bauer looks pretty rough. Let's test the recoil speed once again to see how it performs. And the Bauer slowed down a little from 0.85 to 1.1 seconds. I slowed down the side-by-side video footage just a little, and the new tape measure is on the left and it's noticeably faster. And the new Ming Hao averaged 1.05 seconds before 5 minutes inside the ammo can. And the Ming Hao took nearly twice as long and stopped almost 8 inches from fully retracting. And the Kobalt is right at 0.85 seconds both times. After exposure to the sand and dust, it didn't seem to bother the Kobalt too much. It slowed down slightly from 0.85 to 0.9. Very impressive. The Komelon is right at 1.16 seconds both times. The exposure to sand and dust only slowed it down slightly from 1.16 to 1.36 seconds. The Kutir brand averaged 1.18 seconds. The sand and dirt caused a lot of problems with the Kutir brand and it stopped around 5 feet short of fully retracting both times. The Klein Tools brand is right at 1 second both times. The Klein Tools brand really slowed down quite a bit to 1.87 seconds after exposure to the sand. The Stanley FatMax is right at 1.6 seconds both times. The sand and dust only slowed it down slightly to 1.76 seconds. Just like the Stanley, the Craftsman is right at 1.6 seconds both times. It also slowed down slightly from 1.6 to 1.97 seconds. The new Lufkin was a little bit faster than the Craftsman and the Stanley at 1.4 seconds. The sand and the dust hardly bothered the Lufkin, only slowing it down slightly from 1.4 to 1.5 seconds. 1.2 seconds on average for the Milwaukee, which is slightly faster than the Lufkin. A lot of sand and dust made its way into the Milwaukee through the giant hole for the finger stop, and it really hurt the Milwaukee. 1.16 seconds both times for the new DeWalt, which is slightly faster than the new Milwaukee. It was just as quick after exposure to sand and dust at 1.16 seconds. Very impressive. The tape measure that performed the best in a simulated work environment is the DeWalt, which maintained its retraction speed after exposure to sand and dust. The Kobalt and the Lufkin tied for second, only losing 6% of their original retraction speed. Stanley FatMax did well at 9% and Komelon 15%. Unfortunately, several of the other brands weren't able to fully retract after exposure to sand. If you're using a tape measure for metalwork or even in home construction, having a tape measure with a magnet on the hook might come in handy. It seems to make sense that the magnet should be strong enough to hold the tape onto the metal while the tape measure is extended the full 25 feet. So let's see how they perform sticking to this 1/2 inch by 3 inch mild steel. The Ming Hao uses a 2-magnet setup. I made several attempts and the Ming Hao was only able to hold for 17 feet and 3 inches. And the Kobalt has just one large magnet in the center and it held while the tape measure extended the full 25 feet. The rest of the brands with magnets held for the full 25 feet of extension. However, some of the 2-magnet setups required more than one attempt to get the job done. I found if I didn't provide a perfectly straight pull, the tape became disconnected. To quantify the strength of the magnet, let's measure just how much pull each magnet has before it detaches from the metal, beginning with the Ming Hao brand. Unfortunately, the Ming Hao didn't have enough strength to move the weight scale off of 0. The Kobalt has just one magnet and did much better at 3 pounds. The Komelon has 2 magnets and it was maxed out at 1.6 pounds. The Kutir has 2 magnets and it performed better than the Komelon at 2.6 pounds. The Klein Tools brand has 1 magnet and it did the best yet at 3.8 pounds. The Stanley FatMax has just 1 magnet and it barely beat the Klein Tools at 4 pounds. The Craftsman has just 1 magnet and it did the best yet at 4.8 pounds. Even though the Milwaukee has just 1 magnet, unfortunately it really struggled at just 2 pounds. So the Craftsman came out on top at 4.8 pounds, Stanley 4, Klein 3.8, Kobalt 3, Kutir 2.6, and Milwaukee 2 pounds. So 5 of the 6 top brands have just 1 magnet. I went ahead and tested all the tape measures for accuracy. The hook on a tape measure is supposed to slide back and forth the width of the hook. If you push the end of a tape measure against an object, the hook should slide inward the width of the hook so the first inch measurement is accurate. If the hook is placed over the end of an object, the tape measure slides outward. All the tape measures were close enough to perfect except for the Kutir brand. I tested 3 tapes made by Kutir and they were all off by approximately 1/32 of an inch. Some of the belt clip designs are really good while others just don't seem to be designed too well. Taking a look at the Kutir brand, there just isn't a big enough gap between the leading edge of the belt clip and the tape measure. Also, the front of the tape measure sticks out quite a bit, making it difficult to slide the belt clip onto the belt. Obviously, belt clip design is very subjective. For clipping into a belt, the DeWalt seems to have the best design. The Kobalt, Stanley, Klein Tools, Milwaukee, Lufkin, and Craftsman are all 4 out of 5. Once the tape measure is clipped onto a belt, it needs to stay in place. Using an 1.5 inch belt, let's see how much lifting force it takes to remove the tape measure from the belt. The Bauer brand has a small bump out that keeps the tape measure really secure unless you pull outward so you can remove it without force. I've tared the weight scale to include the weight of the clamp. Pulling it straight up, it took 14.8 pounds to remove the Bauer. Testing the Ming Hao. 6.2 pounds to the Ming Hao brand. The Kobalt did the best yet at 21.8 pounds. Only 3.6 pounds to remove the Komelon. And the Kutir did slightly better than the Komelon at 4.8 pounds. And the Klein Tools released from the belt at 5.8 pounds. And the Stanley FatMax let go at right at 6 pounds. 8.2 pounds for the Craftsman, so Kobalt is still in the lead. And the Lufkin performed very well at 11.4 pounds. And the Milwaukee released at 8 pounds. And the DeWalt performed really well at 14.6 pounds. So the Kobalt maintained the strongest hold on the belt at 21.8 pounds, Bauer second at 14.8, DeWalt 14.6, Lufkin 11.4, and the Craftsman 8.2. The tapes were also tested for blade lock strength. The DeWalt came out on top at 12.4 pounds, Milwaukee 9.8, Craftsman 7.8, Kobalt 4.2, and Komelon and Klein Tools 3.6. For marketing purposes, some of the brands mention impact resistance and surviving from a drop. For this test, I'll be attaching a 1 pound PVC pipe to each tape measure to direct the impact point to the most vulnerable part of the tape measure. All of the tape measures were dropped from right at 12 feet. While the Bauer doesn't seem to have damage on the surface, unfortunately, the blade lock no longer works. The blade lock button on the Ming Hao has been broken. Unfortunately, the case on the Kobalt has been broken. The hook has also been bent. Other than a few scratches on the outside, the Komelon held up just fine. Unfortunately, the Kutir's blade lock button has been badly damaged. The hook was also bent during the impact. The Klein Tools brand held up fairly well, but unfortunately the hook became bent. Just a few scratches on the outside of the tape measure. The Craftsman still functions properly, but the hook has been bent. The Lufkin held up fairly well, but unfortunately the hook is bent. The Milwaukee tape measure held up really well. Other than a few abrasions, no damage to the Milwaukee. The DeWalt held up really well. Other than a few scratches, the DeWalt works just fine. So which tape measure is best? The DeWalt really surprised me with just how good it is, easily dominating the showdown. However, it is the most expensive and it doesn't have a magnet. So if not having a magnet's a deal breaker, the Craftsman really performed extremely well. The Stanley Fat Max seems like a great all-around tape measure. And finally, if you're looking for a good quality tape measure for a very affordable price, the Kobalt is hard to beat. All the videos in this channel, including this one, are viewer suggested. So if you have a video idea, I hope you'll take time to leave a comment. Thanks so much for watching. Please take care and I look forward to next time.